So you've written about eunuchs and sexual minorities. How can the church include people who don't fit the traditional categories without compromising truth?
Okay, on this point of eunuchs, I'd like to clarify that the word eunuch is a very archaic word. It's a biblical word. It's a word that existed in the ancient Near East some 2000 years ago. It's not a word that is in use today, and nobody in the LGBTQ spectrum will like to be called a eunuch. Now, Jesus uses this word in the Greek Bible. I read this morning in my Greek Bible, and the word eunuch is given there in the original. Okay. Now, when Jesus is using this particular word, he is using it in the context of marriage. Okay. And more specifically in the context of celibacy, staying single. So the disciples are asking, how can we stay single? Jesus is saying this is not easy for everybody to accept, but there are some that are made that way by other men, which means they are emasculated. Oftentimes, enemies that were captured and that would be taken to the enemy land, men from aristocratic backgrounds who had skill and wisdom and trained in military strength, will be taken to the enemy land after being captured, like Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego, and they would be emasculated so that they will have the power of a man but not be of a sexual threat to the women in that kingdom. Oftentimes, they were given in charge of the king's harem, okay, the king's concubines. And so, Jesus says some are made that way by other men, some are born that way, and some choose to be that way for spiritual reasons. When Jesus says some are born that way, the question that has to come in our head is, how are some men born uh, so that they are not sexually active, so that they are frigid? So the word eunuch as used by Jesus means this category called asexual. People that do not have a sexual attraction at all. But when we use the word eunuch, we are referring to transgenders, we are referring to intersex people, we are referring to, a whole string of people. But I'd like to present contextually that the word eunuch only means, in context of Matthew 19, that they are people who are asexual, LGBTQIA. All right. And so they are born that way. Now, can we blame God for making them that way? God did not make them that way. Creation, I told you, was pristine and perfect and very good. Now, the fall ushered in all of this, so that there were genetic aberrations and anomalies, and somehow the gene pool gets corrupt, and some people are born with birth defects. So, asexuality is a birth defect, intersex is a birth defect, congenital genetic anomaly. And so these are people that suffer in their body certain malformations that is a result of human welcome of sin. And so in Isaiah, there is a verse that says, God is speaking to the eunuchs, and he says, for the eunuch that keeps my Sabbaths and my commandment, I will give in my house a name and a monument that is greater than that I give for sons and daughters. Now, that's God's way to recompense the so-called eunuchs or asexuals and the intersexed, the ones that are born that way. Not because of God's mistake, but God, being omnibenevolent and kind and merciful, is saying, if you are a eunuch, remember the eunuch, the Ethiopian eunuch in the book of Acts that Philip goes and baptizes? That was a eunuch that was revering the word of God, keeping the laws of God. And God says, I will give you a name and a monument in my house that is greater than what I will give sons and daughters. So I'd like to present that the God of the Bible is a God of justice and mercy and love. And also, he is a God who will not leave wrong unpunished, and he will vindicate the oppressed. And so God has given a caveat in His word where He says, I will recompense in life eternal for your bodily suffering here on earth if you look up to me as Father and hold my commandments.
I never thought of it that way, Uncle. I mean, you spoke about how LGBTQIA, it all is different pools of people. So I think that was very insightful as to how we have to approach it differently for everyone. And like you mentioned, I mean, creation was perfect and we are the reason because of the fall. So I think that that is something that we really need to hold on to and not blame God for things that are not. So,
And creation again will be perfected by God in the new heavens and new earth. So we are only in the middle of the story, as it were. Yeah, picture abhi baki hai. If you know what that is. Yeah.